Hello and welcome back to Fusili Chemicals and the Open Synthesizer. Today we're going to be synthesizing dextrose. Dextrose is a relative of D-glucose, which is a sugar, as you guys know. Now, dextrose is mostly used in hospitals to supply patients with nutrients as they sleep or while they stay there at the hospital. Now, dextrose is mostly used for comatose patients or patients who have just finished surgery and require IV fluids. And there's really not much to the structure of dextrose itself, rather than it is somehow drastically different than glucose itself. So glucose itself has a closed hexagonal structure, but unlike glucose itself, dextrose here is more of an open type of molecule, as you intuitively speaking. Now, it roughly has the same composition, mostly oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon atoms. However, it is arranged in a slightly different pattern. So as you can see over here, I have on the build platform the necessary precursors to actually create the molecule. And really, all it took was some methanol to get things started right away. So I really only needed 4 of these methanols. And as you can see here, as I start the reaction here on the open synthesizer, it inputs it correctly, and as you can see, this is a custom molecule, and it's because of a certain sort of tweak I did to the original MS Machine software or architecture that allowed me to actually input these guys instead of having to stop it at the last instruction. Okay, so there it is. You guys can see over here what I'm supposed to create. There's a double bond up here on this oxygen molecule compared to this one over here. So if I speed it up, as you guys will see, it takes 719 cycles to meet our quota of 120. And it took me 11 modules and roughly 19 symbols to get done. So that's really it for glucose. So now, with this thing that I did, with this little tweak that I did to the code of the open synthesizer, I can effectively make any molecule I want and input it. Unlike before, where I had to stop the instructions at the last one, because of course it would input the wrong molecule. Because originally in Molek-Syntez we're only given specific levels with fixed molecules that you're required to produce out of the precursors. So in those videos where I created these molecules, I was only using a different level in Molek-Syntez, and I was just sort of creating a new solution, and that solution would contain that actual molecule itself, but the molecule is not what the level wants me to create, rather. So the output is supposed to be the original molecule, and I cannot input that molecule, that custom molecule I made on the build platform. Right? If you guys can get what I'm saying. So with this tweak, I can essentially create my own custom levels here in Molek-Syntez. I'm going to link the video in the description. And you guys can have some fun with the hacks themselves. It takes some getting used to with working with some obfuscated code to actually create these molecules. You're supposed to operate this invisible cursor on the build platform, and it moves in this sort of hybrid between Cartesian coordinate system and hexagonal coordinate system. So it's a hexagonal coordinate system, and it takes some getting used to, but once you guys get the hang of it, you can create something like this, or something as complicated as estradiol, which is the next molecule that we're going to be discussing here in Molek-Syntez. So it's amazing that I was able to learn about this. I just learned this the other night, because now I can effectively make GIFs, right? So I can make GIFs of my completed works and then compile them rather than have to make videos all the time. Of course, I would still make videos so that you guys are kept informed of what we're doing here at Fusili Chemicals. However, it's still fun if I can actually input the molecule and see how I can optimize my solutions rather than having to stop every time, and not really getting the full picture on producing these things. So, of course, the company directive is that as a chemical engineer here in this company, I am only required by quota to create a certain amount of molecules. And my software, so the unit I'm given to produce these molecules with the given precursors, um, has a proprietary software that I cannot hack, or rather, I cannot tweak the code of because it's obfuscated. And with the little hack that I did, I can make any molecule that I want to make out of the precursors that I already have. Maybe I could even change the precursors, but that would require some other thing like actually messing or mucking up with the transportation, the deliveries of the actual molecules, because the process is I'm supposed to grab the precursors. So I'm given a shipment of precursors every month, and those are supposed to tide me over for like 3 months. And what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to grab one of those precursors. Let's say it's toluene, right? So I grab a bottle of toluene from the shipment, and then I pour it into the toluene container that leads into the big tanks at the back of my unit, the actual Molek-Synthez machine, or the molecular synthesizer machine, and that's where it's stored until I actually use it to make a certain product. And essentially, if I want to change the precursors, I would not only be changing the code here in my software, in my MS software, but rather I would also have to, in real life, I would have to change some sort of thing in the delivery, because I'm the one who's supposed to send the sort of receipt or the list of things that I need the delivery company to deliver here at my unit, so here at my workspace. And I can change some stuff there. I know it's gonna be against company policy, and I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be doing that anytime sooner. I'm just gonna work with what I have. Um, but essentially, I would be breaking company protocol and changing some of the information in the delivery slip that I would be sending to them online, and they would be shipping me the precursor that I want to use. Essentially, they wouldn't question what I want them to send me because of Fusili Chemicals, reputation with their company. I'm not gonna disclose their company because that's some private information that I can't share with you guys without being arrested, because I have an NDA. And of course, with that NDA, I'm obligated not to tell you guys some stuff, and I'm obligated to tell you guys some stuff, including what we do in order to promote the company. So that's really it. When it comes to this custom level thingy jig that I did, um, I don't think that the higher ups are gonna be very mad that I did this, because I'm not really mucking around with anything, and you know, the shipments come out of my paycheck anyway, so if I sort of go below quota because I've used some of the precursors to create some random molecule that I wanted to make rather than the quota, it's really gonna fall on me. And I I still order an extra amount of precursors so I can work on this stuff while meeting quota at my company or at Fusili Chemicals. So really, I'm not breaking any company rules, and I don't think they're gonna come after me for this. Okay, so that's really it for this glucose and small update on custom levels. Again, the video on how to edit these levels are in the description below, and please let me know in the comments if you guys want a sort of guide, like some sort of manual on how to actually edit these things. I would be open to make such a thing. However, because the code is obfuscated, if the game is updated, the code would change, and there are certain codes that you guys need to remember in order to actually create the custom molecules. And because the code is obfuscated and is updated every time the game is updated, you guys will need to keep track of that stuff. So let me know if you guys want that in the manual as well, like all the details of how to edit the molecules here. All right. So that's really it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one, which will be Estradio.